If you've ever seen video of people climbing Mount Fuji and you see cool shots everywhere and all this pretty sight and the sunrise that is amazing from the top, I'd like to make a video explaining how you can do it, who you can do it with, and just a few information that might be helpful. I really think that climbing Mount Fuji is really for anyone who prepares for it. So it is important, with that said, to take preparation seriously in mind. When you make the decision to go out and climb Fuji, you don't just go on a whim and do it, I hope. There is a lot of preparation that you will need to do ahead of time, and I am here to give you my take on what I think you will need. First off, there is a climbing season when it comes to Fuji, and that is from early July to early September. We are talking only about 3 months of the year. Be aware of that when making preparations so that you don't go in a time when you will not be allowed to climb. I will be breaking down these preparations into the following list: things to do before you go, what to do when you land in Japan, and of course, Fuji. Now, I am going to assume that you will land in Tokyo, and that if you do choose to go on and climb Mount Fuji, that you will not take the trip just for the mountain and will also want to enjoy the many cool things Japan has to offer. That being the case, you will most likely want to arrive in Tokyo. From the very beginning of your planning, you have to have an idea of how you want to climb Fuji. I am referring to climbing it by yourself and perhaps with your friends, or going with a tour guide company. You don't have to decide right at the beginning of your planning which one you will go with, but it is a good idea to keep both options in mind throughout your early planning. If you go with a tour, space might be limited and you will need to book it months in advance before you travel. The first thing I will mention that you need is transportation. I am not just talking about your flight, but when you are there in Japan, how will you get around? How will you get to Fuji? Fortunately, Japan has a great railway system and public transportation system that can help you get anywhere on the island. For tourists, they also have the JR Pass, which will give you access to the trains in the Japan Rail system, which are a lot. If you choose to use the JR Pass, you have to go on their website, jrpass.com, and buy it while you are in your country of origin, not in Japan. So make sure you do it months ahead so that you give it enough time for your purchase to arrive. You will receive a voucher by mail, and when you arrive in Japan, you go into a JR Central Ticket Office either at the airport or main train station, where you will exchange that voucher for the actual JR Pass. That pass is what you will use to travel wherever you go in Japan, and it is pretty handy. However, in 2023, they raised the price of the JR Pass substantially, so you might want to do your math, and depending where you want to go, it might be beneficial to just get your ticket at the ticket machine in each train station. The JR Pass is great if you are planning to travel all across Japan using bullet trains to go to the farther regions. In that case, you might save a lot of money. But if you are just going to the most popular cities, do your math. You might just save money getting individual tickets yourself. The ticket machines a lot of times have an English button to give you everything translated, and they are easy to understand. You find out where you are and where you want to go, then you find out which train takes you there and what the fare amount is. The ticket you buy is usually for the fare amount. You run that ticket into the machine, get on the train, and go. If you are using the JR Pass, that is your ticket. You don't have to get a fare, you just use it, get it on the other side, and go. Just make sure to keep it safe and always with you. Another element that you might want to plan ahead other than transportation is communication. While you are there in Japan, you might want to have access to data in order to go online and look up information, perhaps to rewatch this video, and probably also access to calls in case you need to call someone or the hotel where you are in. Did you know that airports usually have a kiosk or two there where you can go in and buy local SIM card for your phone that provide just that, data and or call for a selected number of days? Most international airports have that. You can do that, or you can go online and buy it ahead of time so that it arrives at your house. In this case, I went with mobile and bought a SIM with unlimited data. I took it with me, and once I arrived in Japan, I followed their directions on how to use it on my phone, and my communication issue was solved. I had transportation and communication solved before I even set foot in the country, and had them ready to go before I even stepped outside of the airport in Tokyo. But I didn't step out yet. I went to the currency exchange right there at the airport and exchanged some money for the local currency. So, right at the airport, I have transportation, communication, and some money in the local currency. The last element that is crucial before you go is the physical element. That is, working on your fitness and getting your equipment. Fuji has 4 popular trails: the Yoshida Trail, the Subarashi Trail, the Gotemba Trail, and the Fujinomiya Trail. Some of those trails, like the Subarashi, which I took, might be considered easy, but that is compared to the others. Just keep in mind, the easiest of the trail still takes 5 hours to climb without stopping. So, can you walk on a Stairmaster for 5 hours carrying a backpack full of gear? You need to think about this before you plan your trip. You need to work on your fitness way ahead of time. Another element that will affect your fitness is the fact that Fuji has an elevation of 3,776 meters, or for us Americans, 12,388 feet above sea level. When you arrive by bus, you start at one of the 5th stations, which are already 2,300 meters or 7,545 feet above sea level. Each trail has its own 5th station, which is the starting point of the climb. At higher elevations, oxygen is thinner, so it becomes harder to breathe. That's why, if I had to put my own personal opinion, I would say you have to use an agency. There are many benefits that come with going along with experienced people that have climbed the mountain before, especially if you face altitude sickness by yourself for the very first time, somewhere in the middle on your journey to the top of the mountain. It just makes things a lot easier, and it just adds an extra layer of safety that if it is your first time going up the mountain, it's better to have. And altitude sickness is no joke, trust me, I experienced it. I myself went with Fuji Mountain Guides, and I did it in the middle of the week since the weekends get more people. They had about 5 guides for every 20 people, which was great. I actually experienced altitude sickness while up there, and it was reassuring that they left the guide with me to keep an eye on me and slowly get me to the next station safely. Had I been there by myself, it would have been a very unpleasant experience. When it comes to gear, you might want to look into altitude sickness pills and see if that would work for you. You also want to be prepared for it to be sunny, and yet at the same time be prepared for it to be cold as you climb. Be prepared with rainy equipment, as it might rain as well. In this case, my climbing backpack had a cover for it, but I also had a poncho and a brim hat to protect me from the sun and the rain. If it would help you, make a list of all the things you will need to take. In my list, I included my hiking backpack, hydration pack for water, trek shoes, tread socks, which stay dry and help you not feel rocks that slip into your shoes, trek poles, raincoat, rain pants, winter gloves, a warm jacket, an insulating shirt, an insulating pants, a brim hat, a poncho, a towel, a flashlight, sunscreen, cash in the form of coins, wet naps, a few trash bags, a water bottle, and snacks. Those last 2, I got them while in Japan. So things can get a little pricey, and sometimes you can forget things, but you do have places where you can rent equipment if you forgot something, and just make sure that you have everything you need to make it to the top. Usually these places are in towns near Fuji, or better yet, the mountain guide agency you will be using will provide that option at the 5th station itself, right before your climb. They also include bathroom use, which normally cost 200 to 300 yen per use, and oftentimes also stamps on the poles, which normally cost 500 yen per stamp, as well as some food. Now, what to do when you land in Japan? Very easy. Take a day or two off. Don't just rush and climb Mount Fuji. You want to be well rested before taking on Fuji. You want to make sure that you are sleeping well when you take on the hike. If you are doing the tour through an agency, chances are they will pick you up either in Tokyo or in one of the towns near Fuji. Fuji mountain guides usually pick people up right in Tokyo at the Tochomae station at 6:45 a.m. the day of the tour, or at the Gotemba station in the town of Gotemba near Fuji at 9:30 a.m. This is subject to change, so just look it up on their website if you go with them. I wanted extra sleep, so when in Tokyo I decided to go to Gotemba. At the Tokyo station, I took the Kodama 731 Shinkansen to Mishima station. I had the JR Pass, which I explained earlier in the video, so I used it to book a ticket at the JR Central Office in Tokyo Station. This was a 45-minute ride to Mishima, a major station in Japan. From there, I took the Tokaido line to Namasu, which was only about 6-minute ride, and from Namasu, I took the Gotemba line for a 33-minute ride all the way to Gotemba Station, not to be confused with Minami Gotemba. Gotemba is a city in central Japan right next to Mount Fuji. It tends to be a good starting point for people who want to climb Fuji, right before they head to the 5th station of their respective trail. When I arrived, I booked a stay at the Gotemba-kan Hotel. It is not the most modern hotel, but it has everything you need, especially a great location since it is right across from the Gotemba station itself. I stayed there, and then in the morning I was ready to go to the meeting place inside the station. From there, I met a few other people waiting as well, got into the bus, and drove to the Subarashi 5th station. If you decide to climb by yourself without a tour, just look for the times of the mountain climbing bus running from different nearby stations. In the town of Gotemba, you will have a mountain climbing bus that takes you to the 5th station and back, whatever 5th station you choose. In the town of Kawaguchiko, you will have a mountain climbing bus also, as well as at Mishima Station, Shinfuji Station, and a few others. Make your way to that town from Tokyo, take the mountain climbing bus to the 5th station of the trail you want to go on, and at the 5th station begin your climb. When done climbing, make your way back to the 5th station and wait for the bus to take you back to that town. And just as an extra suggestion, look up the schedules of the bus ahead of time. As for what happens when climbing Mount Fuji, it is a hike up a mountain. The terrain changes, some areas looking like a rainforest while others looking like a rocky climb, which you better be careful with each step. You might encounter any of the elements, from sunny and hot to very cold to humid and rainy. It will take a lot of work, a lot of effort, and along the way you will have places where you can rent a bed for the night if it is not included in your tour, where you will meet great people getting your souvenir stick stamped, and hopefully get to experience one of the most beautiful sunrises you will ever see overlooking the Great Lakes of Japan. And so, if you really want to climb Mount Fuji, now hopefully you have some information that will help you plan that out and get that achieved. And again, I really want to emphasize preparation, especially when it has to do with your health, and hopefully as well taking some smaller hikes in whatever country or state you are in. That will really help you prepare for it, since it is a bit of a gruesome and long journey to the top, but it is definitely worth it, especially when you see the sunrise from up there. It is amazing. So with that said, good luck.